Well, folks, if you weren't already in the loop, last week we had a bombshell of announcement, or so it seems, that El Mierto is coming to the live action big screen via Sony in his own solo film. For those that don't know, this is a Spider Man related character. And here we are looking at cover prices. Top 10 for books this week. It just hit the list. Today is a filming it. Today is Monday. You guys are seeing this on a Tuesday. These books have went absolutely nuts after this film announcement. We're going to get into this today, folks. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. Check out all the awesome links in the description below as well. And I want to thank today's sponsor, PopCultureZone.com, for sponsoring this video today. Stay tuned towards the end of the video for a 60-second drop to let you guys know a little bit more about Pop Culture Zone. And of course, their link to their online store is in the description as well. Now, we're looking at these top two books on the list. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 6 and number 7, both the 1 and 2 spots. Number 6 is the first appearance of El Mierto. And guys, this book has gone absolutely mad. We're just going to look over it. We're going to talk a little bit about this character if you're not too familiar with him, but let's just look at this book. Look at these recent numbers. It hit a high of $250 raw. Now, this blank state over here to the left, graded comic sales. No graded comic sales available, folks. So, what does that tell me? I've said this before about books. It tells me that nobody cared about this book before. Now, let's look at this. This is a pretty, I guess, exciting if you want to look at it like that. His second appearance is also hitting crazy numbers with a high hitting $69 raw, an average sale of $27, folks. So, like I said, when this announcement hit, almost immediately this book started going off the Richter scale, and people were just going after this book like crazy. So, what do we have? We have an announcement. Variety reported on it. Obviously, multiple sources, credible sources reported on it. This is valid. We have an El Mierto film by Sony Pictures, and they seem to have got their casting under their belts already with Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny is a Latin musician. I am not too familiar with the individual's work, nor am I familiar with any knowledge of this individual having any acting experience under his belt. Real name is Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, excuse me, better known as the stage name Bad Bunny, has been cast for this Marvel role under Sony Pictures because, of course, Sony Pictures owns the right to all the Spider-Man related characters. They already have a release date set for January 12th, 2024. So we're just over a year and a half away. So that tells me they're serious about this. They're getting their casting under wraps right now, and this might go into production, maybe towards the end of the summer or more likely maybe in the fall or winter of this year. Sony's doing this, guys. Sony's doing this. Here's my thoughts. There's two things that we have to pair because we're looking at this in terms of a comic book angle, comic book investing or comic book speculating, and how these books are going absolutely nuts on the market. But I think in order to talk about that, we have to talk about the validity of what Sony is doing here with their film properties. So we can look back and to just as recent as the Morbius film, which I thoroughly enjoyed. It was an entertaining film. I don't, that's all I have to say about it. It was decently entertaining. I wasn't shocked by it one way or the other. It was what it was. But we know Sony's track record. I could say the same with Venom. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm entertained here, but it's not. It just doesn't do anything for me in terms of fulfillment as a Marvel fan watching these characters on screen. Tom Holland in his Spider-Man films has absolutely done that for me. But why? Because they're at the helm of Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios with their partnership with Sony. I am not mad at Sony taking this character and saying, we're going to make a movie on him. Look, Sony can do whatever they want with all these different characters. Now, a lot of comic heads are like, who is this character? We don't care. Why are you making a movie about this guy that hasn't even had a huge role in the comic books? And for those that don't know, there's a backstory. You guys, the easiest way to get a backstory of these characters is to, go to the Marvel Wiki. I did read these books, the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man books. I'm familiar with his backstory, written by Peter David, and they were solid books and a solid story. There's a decent mythos behind it. It's a cultural mythos, which I think is always exciting to tie into some stories. Let's just go over the history real quick here. Juan Carlos Sanchez, which is his real name, El Mierto's real name, was trained his entire life by his father to be the next in the long line of El Miertos, masked wrestlers who wore mystical masks that granted them power. I'll just stop right there. So that alone, to me, that's intriguing. And if done right, there's good stories that could be told around this type of mysticism. I dig it. But for you diehard comic book fans, I don't care about this character. That's what you're saying, right? I am not mad at Sony trying to take a route of saying, look, we don't have to have a connected universe. We don't need to connect this guy to Spider Man. We have the rights to all these characters, and some of them might have solid standalone origin stories to where all we need to do is tell a good story to make a good film, right? I'm not mad about that. But we know Sony's track record, and I don't want to say they've failed at being able to do just that, but they've struggled. They've struggled to stand on their own too and just tell good stories with these characters. So we got to keep those two things in mind and come back here to these books. Knowing that we don't even know if this will be connected to the MCU in any way, knowing that we don't know if this will be connected to Spider Man in any way, and to be quite honest, we don't even know if this will connect to Venom or Morbius in any way because there's no need for it. If you know this character in the comic books, there's really no need for it. Is this going to be just a standalone film by Sony using its IPs because they can and they want to make money off of it? And if that's the case, do we trust that it's just going to at least be a decent movie? And you got to answer all those questions to then justify paying over $200 for this book raw. Now, we're going to look at the sales data, folks. Before this announcement, guys, nobody cared about this book. Look at this. Look at this. This was a $2 to $5 book. And it wasn't selling that much because nobody cared about it. Nobody cared about it. We can go all the way back to 2017. Dollar, couple dollars, $1.99, 170, 170, 170. Look at this. 2020, 2019, $2, $2, $2, $1, $2, $2. Look at this. One $5 one there. $2. Look, we even get up into April. Right when the announcement happened, right around the announcement happened, those few that were listed ended up selling for anywhere from $2 to $4. But it took about, maybe not even 24 hours for people to catch on. And almost overnight, 8, 10, 12, boom. 25, 35, 37, 37, 38, 60, 80, 80, 80, 80, 90, 175, 100, 100, 100. Unbelievable. With a recent high as of yesterday of $250. Is this justified? Is it worth it? Let's look at a second appearance. I'm going to give you guys my opinion. I'm trying to be as middle of the road as possible and just share with you the data, and you guys got to answer the question for yourself. But I'll share my thoughts in a quick minute. Let's look at this same thing. Same thing with the second appearance. Nobody cared about this book. Nobody cared about this book until the announcement. Then it started selling for 10, 11, 15, 24, 70, 40, 25, 28. It's crazy. It's crazy, folks. I want to know this. Are the people that are buying this book buying it because one, they heard this announcement and they're actually excited about this movie? They already know about the character and they just want to own that book now. Or they didn't know about the character, but they heard about the movie, they researched the character, and they've fallen head over heels in love with this character. That for a book that was selling for $2 a couple days ago, now they're willing to pay $100, $150, $200 for. Or is it only people that want to speculate and flip and make a quick buck, thinking that they're getting ahead of the curve even by paying $50, $80, $100, $200? Are they still think they're ahead of the curve, and are they trying to make a quick buck? Or is it people that really think that this book is going to hold some type of long-term value, and they're going after this book and saying, I'm gonna bid this up, and I'm willing, man, I'm willing to pay 150, 175, $200 for this book. Because, folks, it's one of those things. It's one of those things. One of those things is why people are buying this book. And I'm going to tell you right now, obviously, if you heard the news and you were able to get this book for $10 to $20, you're flipping it right now and making money in your pocket. So hey, I mean, kudos for you if that's what you do. I look at this book and see it as one of the biggest falsely inflated books. Now, I don't use this terminology lightly, guys, because I say this often. So many people talk about the market crashing and bubbles and pumping and dumping and inflation or market manipulation, and they're just regurgitating, I think, and they don't really understand the depths of the terms that they're using. But when I say falsely inflated, is this: it's where you don't allow the demand to catch up, or excuse me, you don't allow the supply to catch up to the demand. Meaning, it's driven strictly by FOMO in the here and now in this moment. So let me give you an example. There are probably thousands and thousands and thousands of this book out there raw in high near mint grade. When this announcement happened, there were some people that rushed to get it on the market to sell. When it did, there was even more people though that wanted this book. And it blew this price up because they don't care about how many are potentially out on the market. They care about what are selling on the market right now. So, in a sense, it's still organic. It's not a market manipulation. It's still organic because if even if there's a bunch out there, if only a few people are getting to listen to them on eBay and you got more people wanting that book, it's going to drive the price up. But now what it does is, because you get all these people that are stuck in this FOMO, they have such fear of missing out, fight or flight, gimme, 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 I need it now, I need it now, I need it now, and I don't care if it was selling for $2 yesterday, I'm paying $100, $150 for it. Now, what that does is it inflates the fair market value, because people that are now not first to the party, but now they're sitting there, they got the itchy palms, and they're like, oh man, well, like, maybe I want this book. And for whatever those three reasons, maybe this character is going to big and I want to love the character, or maybe I'm going to hold this as long term and it's going to be worth thousands, or maybe it's still going to increase and I can flip it. They're getting those itchy, sweaty palms. And now they look at a fair market value and they think that these recent sales are an actual fair market value, and it sets the tone, because I've talked about this before. Too many people look at recent sales or the last sale or the high sale and say, "Oh, well, that's a fair market value. That's what I'm willing to pay." No, because guess what? There may have been only a few of these books on eBay yesterday, and maybe there was 20 or 30 people bidding on them, driving that price up. And because of the attention, maybe in a couple days there's now going to be 100 of these books on eBay. And maybe there's not going to be 100 people wanting it, but there's going to be people that are putting these books up for a buy it now price, setting the tone of that last high sale. Well, that last high sale sold for 175. I'm going to set mine for 185. And somebody out there is going to buy it because they don't know how to look at the numbers. There's a lot of things involved that is driving these books up because of the fact that people are acting on emotions and they're not being patient. They're not sitting with this and saying, okay, is this really worth it? Because I'm going to tell you right now, and I know everyone doesn't have this privilege. When after the first few days, this book skyrocketed after the announcement. When it was hitting that 80, 90, $100 mark, I most likely could have gone to one of my LCSs in the Sacramento area and probably found it in a back bin for under $10. Now, of course, now here we are a week later, a little more than a week later. Your LCSs are probably, hopefully, are getting savvy to it and they're going to repricing. Are they pricing it at a skyrocketing high of the last eBay sold? Maybe not. So even if you had patience, you could still inquire to your LCSs and see if you can get a better deal. And then what'll that do? If we sit here and have patience, study the market, and not jump to conclusions, we'll level out the market. And these books won't be sitting at these crazy highs. Now we're gonna look at Go Collect here and just look at one last area of examination. So we're bringing this book up right here, right now, and you can see here there are absolutely zero copies of this book on the census. Zero. And this is alarming to me because of this. Most of you know that there are people out there that'll slab anything. And I'm not knocking those people, but I'm just making a statement here. I'm making a point. There are people out there that will slab anything. They will slab a mass-produced book from the mid 90s that's worth a quarter. You know, if they think they could get in a 9.8. This is a more modern book from 2006. A lot of 9.8 potential copies out there. Not one person owned this book and said, hey, look, this is the first appearance of El Mierto, and I think this is a 9.8 candidate. I'm going to send it into CGC. Not one person did that. That is alarming. That's alarming, folks. So, my final point is this, guys. I love the MCU. I love how it connects people to comic books. It brings folks in that got out of comic books back into comic books. It brings the younger generation into these characters, and it brings a lot of them back into the comic books as well. I've seen it with my own kids. It creates, it expands the mythos and the love for these characters both on screen and in the books. You could say the same thing for the DCEU, I guess, or even Sony properties, whatever. But at the end of the day, movie spec and the fear of missing out on something just because it is announced in a live action property is 100% absolutely out of control. And I'm the optimist here, folks. I am the optimist that has sat here for years saying all of this stuff is good for the hobby. If it's bringing money into the hobby, if you're collecting what you love, it's good for the hobby. But right now, I have a sick feeling in my stomach, and I'm going to say that the way that we are reacting to movie spec is 100% out of control. If you want to go and spend $100 to $200 on this book that nobody cared about a few days ago, that you could get in the dollar bins or for $2, go right ahead. But I don't want to hear you complaining that you got burned. I don't want to hear you complaining that speculators are ruining the hobby because this book lost its value. Because it's on you. That's on you for making this purchase. I don't want anybody getting burned in this hobby. This hobby has so much good to offer still, and there's so many positives way more than there are negatives. And overall, the comic book hobby and industry is in a very healthy state still. And I don't think we'll ever be in the 90s again, ever. That's for another video. But I will say this. This is a concern. So educate yourself, educate yourselves, be smart buyers, have patience. And guys, please, please, just be careful with what you're doing. Would love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments below. Please subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I am here making content practically 7 days a week. Thank you guys again for watching. Again, big shout out to popculturezone.com. Check out their little clip that's coming up right now. PopCultureZone.com is an online shop focusing on hot new comics, including exclusive and incentive variants, CGC graded comics, and tons of other inventory, including pop culture toys and other collectibles, all at low and competitive prices. PopCultureZone.com ships all over the US. And if you are buying raw comics, they offer flat rate shipping of only $4.99. That's right, $4.99. Absolute craziness, right? And there's no taxes included, excluding New Jersey. Pop Culture Zone is also on eBay, where they hold a 100% positive feedback rating with over 8,000 completed transactions for this year alone. Make sure to check out the link to their website below, as well as their eBay link, so be sure to give them a follow there as well.